Parents, your support means everything to your athletes and to us at Varsity Media. To help us continue bringing you the best YouTube coverage of high school sports on Long Island, we invite business owners to consider a sponsorship on our broadcasts. If you own a business, consider a sponsorship for your athlete's team. It's a great way to show support, gain visibility, and keep the coverage going strong. Join us in making a difference. Contact Varsity Media today to learn more about broadcast sponsorship opportunities by emailing ben@varsitymedia.net.
On the Varsity Media Sports Network, Cold Spring Harbor makes the trip to Wantagh to take on the Warriors. It is a Nassau County small school battle featuring a pair of teams that are reigning county champs. Wantagh comes in at 5-3. Cold Spring Harbor a game better at 6-2 as we've reached the midway point of the season. With Isaac Neal, longtime coach at Port Washington, David Resnick. And the sense, Isaac, when speaking with both coaches, is that they really look at this game, especially at this point of the season, as a litmus test as to where they could possibly go come later in the year.
Yeah, 100%. You know, it's one of those games where, you know, very grateful for the Power Conference in all of Nassau County. I think it provides these matchups at pivotal times that give guys an opportunity to kind of test themselves, just like you said, that litmus test. So really looking forward to the game that's going to unfold before us today. Second
year of the Power League in which the top teams across all four classes play each other throughout the season. So our theme today for our impact players, we're looking for seniors that might be a bit under the radar, but their contributions are certainly noted by those that understand the way they impact the game.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when you look at Cold Spring Harbor, you know, for Testa and Hajaneris, these are guys who, you know, when you can't go too deep into your bench when you're a C and a D school. But at the same time, they're guys that need to step up, guys that have stepped up throughout the course of the season. And then at the same time, you know, guys who are going to have points, are going to have the balls in their sticks a lot. And we're going to look for a lot out of them today.
A couple of seniors that have worked their way into a starting role as 12th graders. And meanwhile, for Wantagh, you have Martini and Perfetti that are of that similar ilk, maybe not the headliners, but very important contributors to their team.
I mean, definitely. You know, you start with Dylan Martini. He definitely is a headliner. You got to know where 22 is at any point in time. You know, he's someone who runs out of the box as a midi, you know, start out at attack, have to make sure that you know where he's at. But then for Luke Perfetti, he's somebody who does a lot between the lines. You know, the stats might not show it, but at the same time, he's someone who likes to get up and go from the defensive end. He likes to get the ball to his offensive guys, and he's going to be tasked with a lot today, you know, covering that really good attack line for Cold Spring Harbor.
Martini wearing the famed 22 for Wantagh, returning all county, so to your point, a headliner, but the only senior in the top six. As we take a look at this evening's starting lineups for the Seahawks, the visitors today, taking a look at their attack unit, their top midfield line. Cole Newman is playing pole today as Jeep Pace heads to close defense in front of Matty Kamer, the sophomore now in his second year between the pipes. He was a spark last year and has become the unquestioned number one for them this season.
Yeah, Kamer's solid. You know, when you talk to Coach Bond, they really pride themselves not only in their clearing game but also their riding game. And then when you look at Wantagh, you know, they love to ride. So going to be a lot on Kamer today, but so far this season he's been able to prove his worth for sure in the cage.
And to look now at the Warriors starters, as they have needed to shift up the lineup a little bit as Carter Luffman is out once again. A recent injury that has shifted Sean Stachlik from the bench into the attack. Matt Jacobello will come out of the box to start. John Gendels is somebody you will see both with the pole to start on the wing and then also moved to short stick defensive midfield. And Gianni Pissarro, bound for Mount St. Mary, second year in the varsity. First as a starter, as he's improved his communication. And as you mentioned, Wantagh, a team that prides itself on its ride, and he'll be a part of that as well.
Yeah, a lot of athletes on Wantagh. So when you look at guys having injuries throughout the course of a season, it's always next man up, in any varsity program. But in a program like this, they're going to turn to their athletes and just make sure that they get behind their guys as they look to put them in positions where, they practice. This is a very good coaching staff that understands how to get guys prepared.
Saving at 57% on the season, already more than 100 saves in the first 8 games for the Warriors. Last year, Wantagh beat Cold Spring Harbor. It was their first win in quite some time in this yearly rivalry. A lot of respect between these two. Wantagh out of Class C, number 3 in the state. Cold Spring Harbor, the top-ranked Class D school across the Empire State. And once again, one of the best small school Nassau battles. And it is coming to you next on the Varsity Media Sports Network.
Parents, your support means everything to your athletes and to us at Varsity Media. To help us continue bringing you the best YouTube coverage of high school sports on Long Island, we invite business owners to consider a sponsorship on our broadcasts. If you own a business, consider a sponsorship for your athlete's team. It's a great way to show support, gain visibility, and keep the coverage going strong. Join us in making a difference. Contact Varsity Media today to learn more about broadcast sponsorship opportunities by emailing ben@varsitymedia.net. Hey parents, Varsity Media is now offering ISO video of just your athlete. Why settle for the wide angle that shows every player on the field? With our ISO video, your athlete is front and center the entire game. This footage will help in creating highlight videos for college coaches to better pinpoint your athlete's play on the field. Watching our video will help your athlete improve progressively throughout the season and may lead to a college scholarship. Varsity Media is now booking ISO videos for the spring, but spots are limited. Contact us today for lacrosse, baseball, softball, and tennis by calling 516-403-2050 or emailing ben@varsitymedia.net.
High school sports fans, Varsity Media is the exclusive live stream partner of Nassau County Championships. To live stream fall, winter, and spring championship events, head to varsitymediapass.com to order. Now accessible on smart TVs. Varsity Media is your home for the Nassau County Championships.
Parents, your support means everything to your athletes and to us at Varsity Media. To help us continue bringing you the best YouTube coverage of high school sports on Long Island, we invite business owners to consider a sponsorship on our broadcasts. If you own a business, consider a sponsorship for your athlete's team. It's a great way to show support, gain visibility, and keep the coverage going strong. Join us in making a difference. Contact Varsity Media today to learn more about broadcast sponsorship opportunities by emailing ben@varsitymedia.net.
Take a look at the keys to the game between Cold Spring Harbor and Wantagh. Both coaches stressing the importance of possession, coming in different ways for Cold Spring Harbor, a team that pre-shot clock would take multiple minute possessions. Wantagh struggling a bit at the face-off X, so trying to come up with possessions by winning the ground ball battle.
Yeah, when you look at keys to the game, they kind of both they tennis one another, right? Valuing possessions has always been a big thing for Coach Bond and Cold Spring Harbor. But when you look at an offense that's averaging over 12 goals a game, you definitely have to make sure that you take care of the ball. And then for Wantagh, making sure that they make their presence felt, right? They might have a little bit of a deeper bench right now, a couple guys dinged up. So at the same time, they have to make sure they value the ball and get shots that really kind of are going to help them settle into the game as well. And then, like you had mentioned, we've seen it in a few of their games. Had a chance to watch Wantagh. They've had to rotate some untraditional guys into that face-off X position. They have their hands full today with Cold Spring Harbor. But, again, it's one of those games that's going to set both teams up for a nice playoff run in May.
Speaking of the face-off X, let's take a look at the first two that will take the opening face-off. Alex Vitale, 14 of 16 last time out on the road at Yorktown of Section 1, 67% on the season. Jake Harkin, under 20. And so how can James Polo in his 7th season manipulate the wings and play more of a defensive posture to at least make it difficult for Vitale to succeed at the dot?
I think it's going to come into more than just the ground balls. Wantagh is definitely going to scrap and fight for ground balls, but at the same time, it's really going to come into that defensive piece, right? Making Cold Spring Harbor take some of the shots they might not want to take, and then relying on the shot clock. It's a beautiful thing to have in this game, as fast-paced as it is. So knowing that you have an opportunity to get a save, in their goalie, with Wantagh's defense and goalie, and then get out and run in transition, which is something they love to do and do very well.
It is Harkin on the left in the white, and Vitale on the right in the blue for Cold Spring Harbor. And we are underway with the opening face-off to Vitale. A touch in the box, and you can start that 60-second shot clock now in its second year.
Yeah, like I just referenced, it's a very beautiful thing playing with the shot clock in any level of lacrosse. I think it speeds up the game. It keeps guys on the field. And for Wantagh, I think it helps them a little bit. But, Cold Spring Harbor has a lot of two-way middies as well, guys that play football, multiple sports that are ready to compete on both sides of the ball.
First midfield line features Brady McKean, Alex Bauer, and Sam Bruno, the last two senior captains. On the lefty dodge, it's McKean down the alley, throws inside, and a Roy Testa shot whistles wide of the frame. That is guarded by Gianni Pissarro.
See, and you see a lot of it, too. Wantagh really looking when the ball goes out of bounds to hold their matchups. There's a lot of film that Coach Latouche is going to put in on the defensive end. And then as that ball skips, they have an opportunity for a 50-50.
Ground ball picked up by Luke Perfetti. His hard work has resulted in him taking a bigger role. It's a takeaway and a put away. On the run, Kevin Burns knocks it down. An early lead for the Seahawks on the road.
Yeah, that's a tough one, but a nice finish inside. Taking advantage of the fact that the ball got stuck in the goalie stick. He's saying, hey, that's on me. It's a long game. Great finish by Cold Spring Harbor there.
Just a minute 6 in, and Cold Spring Harbor takes the lead on Kevin Burns. The steal and the score is 10th of the season.
When you talk about the face-off X, you see it right now. Wantagh is bumping up the attackman Luke Martini to the wing. So just trying to rotate guys through that can maybe give them an opportunity, whether it's off the ground or in that case, they ended up losing the ball in the clear. They want an opportunity to clear the ball. And we will definitely look for Wantagh to react accordingly. Cold Spring Harbor to react accordingly.
So Wantagh takes possession off of the scrum, but they throw it away. And now 20 seconds here for Cold Spring Harbor to clear.
See that ride. Cold Spring Harbor's goalie very solid in the ride. Very poised young man.
Rex O'Connor with speed. Moving in, and the bouncer is gobbled up. There is Gianni Pissarro making his first stop.
It's a nice save. Way to get the next one after giving up that ball in the clear in the ride. Wantagh looking to settle in a little bit. I'm very curious to see Cold Spring Harbor's matchups as Wantagh has guys that were stuck on midfield and now are coming down that it might normally be at attack.
We got the scoreboard on the bottom of the screen. Yep, and it looks perfect anyways. He's doing great. Yeah, right.
This is a Wantagh offense averaging nearly 13 per.
Yeah, you talk to Coach Polo and a lot of these guys. They're a team that they just run sets, right? Not a lot of plays, not a lot of anything scripted, just a lot of guys playing off of one another, just looking to make a play.
Nicholson inside. It's a low shot that is gobbled up there by Kamer. Snuck behind him, but got enough of it to keep it off the line.
Yeah, that was a nice take. Good job on Kamer to really following Martini's stickhead, getting down low and keeping the ball from going in. Almost like a hockey-esque save.
Easy clear there for the Seahawks. as they look to set up their offense, leading 1-0 on the Kevin Burns goal.
Well, you still see it from Cold Spring Harbor a little bit, right? They want to get settled. Coach Bond and his staff, Coach Lynch calling out the offense. They want to talk through what they want to do based on who's on the field.
It was a great conversation the other day with Dennis Bond where he basically acknowledged the impact and importance of the shot clock for the overall health. Bouncing maneuver and another save by Pissarro, denying McKean on his dodge, but also acknowledged, unsettled on the move. It is whipped high by Passion.
Well, and even in that shot, right, from Passion, there might be times in a game before the shot clock guys want to settle, but a lot of these guys are going to play in college. It's the same with them not allowing them to dive or leave their feet, really making that game kind of match the college style that a lot of the kids, especially on this field, are getting ready to play in the next few years.
Yeah, Bond acknowledging it's better for the game, but maybe not for his more traditionally defensive-minded team going up against a juggernaut in Wantagh, in where a couple of years ago it would have been typical to see 2 or 3 minute possessions, looking to take Wantagh out of its game offensively. As Jacobello rings the pipe, a reset of 60 seconds on this offensive set here for the Warriors.
Yeah, so right now you have Cold Spring Harbor playing zone. Both of their defensive midfielders at the base, and they're going to look to rotate up and then get back. So that's just a little wrinkle that Coach Bond's staff has put in to try to slow down this Wantagh defense and maybe, force some shots that their goalie can see early.
A Wantagh offense that plays positionless, trying to nail down James Polo. Who are your attackmen? Who are your midfielders? And he'd prefer rather to think of it as a 6-man offensive unit, as there is a cutter in front. Tight catch in quarters, another one there, and Cold Spring Harbor is able to check Stachlich off the ball.
Well, that's something too, right? I'm sure Wantaugh's prepared for that zone. I mean, they've undoubtedly seen it already this season, but at the same time, it's just something that takes you out of your flow and your rhythm.
McKean dumps it off left, and a flag is thrown after the shot from Roger Testa misses the mark. Flag was thrown by Michael Forgione. It is unnecessary. Doug Schiller, our other official, unnecessary roughness. So the first extra man opportunity for Cold Spring Harbor, converting on the EMO at a 27% clip.
Yeah, in the game we did a couple weeks ago, Cold Spring Harbor and Syosset, Cold Spring Harbor had a tough time putting shots on cage, man up. That's something that Coach Bond's definitely not going to take lightly. Everyone coming off of the spring break, having a little bit of extra time to practice, something that they're really going to want to narrow down and take advantage of these opportunities.
Now, there was extra time to practice, but did they use that time to practice?
Knowing Coach Bond as long as I have, without a doubt, before, during, and after. That
is now something off the sideline that you no longer have to worry about.
Not at all, but you love to see it, right? You want to see some of these guys in the crisp ball movement. Maybe a play you can bump down to a youth team, something like that.
On the step down,
right on cue.
Roy Testa finds Twine. An extra man goal makes it 2-0.
And this is going to be one of those things where if Wantagh can stay composed, not going to have too many fouls. You see the ball movement on this. You want to put them in this opportunity. They did a great job just rotating, hitting that skip lane. That's a nice step down. Time and room. A lot of guys, especially in Nassau County, are going to hit that shot, day in and day out.
Alex Bauer set it up for a 2-0 start. 6:44 to go, first quarter. On this overcast late afternoon here in Wantagh, with the sun trying to peek through the clouds. Team splitting the first two face-offs. Extended battle here, and Jake Harkin comes away with initial possession.
That's a great 50-50 ground ball. It's tough. You go in, you drop the first couple, especially to a guy who's been winning a lot, for Cold Spring Harbor. So to really get out of your own head and just have that go get the next one mentality, you love to see it from either side of the ball.
Yeah, to your point, Vitale won the first two, but ultimately the settled possession after a turnover went to Wantagh following that second faceoff.
So you see Cold Spring Harbor back in zone again. They've got their short sticks up top, so you might want to shift out of it.
McKean and Bruno, the two short stick defensive midfielders out there for the Seahawks. Up 2-0. There was a lane there for Joe Nicholson, the Villanova-bound junior, to take, and he sends it high with 24 to shoot.
It's Cold Spring Harbor back in man. It's that slide guy's looking to come early.
Passione takes it across goal line extended, keeps the cradle, and sends another one wide of the frame in which Matty Kamer is guarding.
Now they're back in zone. You know, Passione's someone you keep an eye on. He's usually known as a feeder. Him taking that shot early against their best pole is a great thing. You want to see that from him, more shots from him. But a great job by Cold Spring Harbor kind of limiting the angle of the shot.
Into the middle of the zone, and that's where Cold Spring Harbor is able to dispossess Wantagh and take possession in the form of Andrew Hodgendreas.
There's that ride.
McKean trying to get through it on his own before he lofts a pass. Too tall for Bruno, and Wantagh forces the turnover.
Yeah, you know, that's something that they very much pride themselves on, their ability to ride. I mean, I remember coaching against these teams even as just back as recently as last year. I think they rode the ball back on us about 10 times, right? They're relentless. They're mad that the ball didn't go in. You know, they're going to look to get it back.
James Polo in our conversations this week just talking about any and all ways to get the ball back, and the ride is certainly fundamental to that.
Well, I can say I've been a part of teams that had a tough time at times, or I won't even say a tough time, just going up against really good face-off guys, and you really value the ball. So finding those ways, you know, from the guys, the personnel on your team, figuring out ways to get it back and extend possessions. It's something that Cold Spring Harbor is definitely ready for, but at the same time, throughout the course of the game, can they withstand or overcome?
44 to shoot after Nicholson misfires. A dodge down the right alley and a shot on the run that was over the crossbar. Kamer made an attempt at it, but it was out of his reach. Passione from X up top, and that's a howitzer from Luke Martini to cut the deficit in half.
Yeah, I mean, that's going in every time. You know, he's one of those kids, you see him shooting down at his house, and you tell him put it in your left hand. He's never doing it. That's in and out. Right, Passione, he took his guy the first time, so now they've got to give him a little bit more respect. So Dylan Martini does a great job, throw the ball forward. Passione's head and hands are up immediately, and that's not even a cradle in his stick before it hits the back of the net. Great ball movement by Wantagh.
Took over 7 minutes for this high-powered Warriors offense to score.
Well, it's going to be interesting, right? So you saw in the possession prior to that, Cold Spring Harbor jumps into that zone. In the first possession, they jump into that zone. They're going to try to play chess with Wantagh a little bit, and it was frustrating them early. That when they're in man, ball ends up getting thrown forward, a little simple forward pass and throw inside, and it's a goal. So they're going to look for Coach Bond to keep switching up that look against Wantagh.
It is a 3-on-3 battle for possession. Still loose. And out of bounds to Cold Spring Harbor as they take a 3-1 advantage on faceoffs. Unsettled, but a pass too tall. And back to the Warriors.
Yeah, you know, that's something, too. After that ground ball scrap, Cold Spring Harbor's looking now to play a little fast. Nothing wrong with it. And, again, with the shot clock, you're going to get the ball back at some point. So it makes it fun.
12-7 was the victory last year here in Wantagh back in April of last year. First win in this series for the Warriors in quite some time, especially since Cold Spring Harbor, the three-time defending Class D champs in Nassau, Long Island, and the state. Been on quite the run under Dennis Bond, the active leader in wins in Nassau County.
He's always going to have his guys ready, always. You know, that's one of those teams we had talked about in our last broadcast. You look at their schedule on who they played over break, they're hiding from nobody, right? They want to go play the teams upstate, the teams they might have to play come playoffs, and they're definitely going to be prepared.
Half of the 60-second shot clock has gone by here for Wantagh, trying to tie it up with 3:20 to go in the first quarter.
Yeah, so you look at some of these matchups. Right now you have Bauer playing defense. The senior on the freshman, Luke Martini, gives that one up. But at the same time now, we want to see what they're hopping into. So Cold Spring Harbor's going back into that zone, 12 seconds in the clock. They're going to look to just limit some of the looks and opportunities that Wantagh can produce. On
the last possession, Passione with his 21st assist to lead the team to Luke Martini, his 24th goal, best on the squad.
I mean, look at that ride. Right, there's 5 guys around Bauer. He's trying to get out of it. That's a phenomenal job by Cold Spring Harbor's defense. to get the stop and force the bad shot or bad pass by Passione, they just swarm.
Another Seahawks turnover. Passione around the circle. Wantagh looking to spin it on the perimeter, and now it's the Nicholson dodge that is off the pipe and over the goal line to tie it at 2.
Starts with the ride. I mean, that's a phenomenal take by a lefty midfielder. You know, getting downhill, freeing his hands with his right hand, letting him know, hey, I don't have to get to my left. I mean, look, watch him set up this dodge, right? You hear the faithful down in the stands yelling, move the ball, gets swung to Nicholson. He's not afraid of the pole, goes righty, takes it to the rack. But you go back to that ride, right? It starts with the ride. Cold Spring Harbor forces a turnover. Wantagh's able to get it back and then make do on that turnover.
2 straight goals for Wantagh after falling behind 2-0. 5 minutes or so in. Now 2:30 left, and we are square. Loose ball push. Although Vitale seemed to have it in his cross.
Yeah, you know, it's an unfortunate call, but for Vitale, you know, good job winning the whistle, getting the ball out in front, and then drawing the possession.
Cold Spring Harbor has won 4 of 5 faceoffs here in the opening quarter as we approach 2 minutes to go.
You know, you had talked about it earlier, too. This is one of those times where Cold Spring Harbor may have sat on it for the last couple of minutes. They're going to look to get their offense back going, find their matchups, and put some shots on goal.
This is Bruno. And now Roy Testa. An errant shot is backed up by the angling Daniel Toohey.
Yeah, not a bad shot, getting your hands free. I'd like to see him really turn to the inside a little bit more, but they're not going to shy away from some of the physical pressure of this defense. You know, these are kids that know how to play.
10 to shoot. Bauer. Face dodge. Rings the pipe. Ran over his own rebound, and now a battle for the loose ball is taken by the Seahawks. A clean pickup for the 2024 All-County selection, Sam Bruno. And that one sneaks through. Brady McKean on the run puts Cold Spring Harbor back in front.
See, and that's the benefit of the shot clock, right? And like we talked about, in years past, we might have settled that ball. You see them just playing fast, looking to move the ball. McKean sees an opening, gets downhill, squares his shoulders, runs through the check. It's a phenomenal finish, great shot, you know, stick side high.
Third different goal scorer for Cold Spring Harbor. McKean joins Burns and Roy Testa.
Well, that's something that you're going to want to see too, right? We talk about both of these teams. You look at the sidelines. They've got a couple guys dinged up. You want to be able to go into your bench, especially into the playoffs, and have guys playing with a little bit of juice and having a little bit of confidence in their game. That's a great goal for McKean.
Clean win for Harkin. Second face-off win for Wantagh in this opening quarter. Shot clock is off with 55 seconds to go in the opening quarter. Cold Spring Harbor 2 in a row to open things up. Wantagh with its own 2-goal run to tie it. Cold Spring Harbor on its last possession reclaiming a 1-goal lead.
I mean, this is what we expected to see from both of these teams, right? Hot out the gates, a little bit of a chess match on both sides, both in the middle of the field and then also on the defensive end.
Shot from range is deflected. It is out of bounds and remains with Wantagh with an even 27 seconds to go in the first.
So now if you're Wantagh, you're hoping nothing goes over the midfield line. You know, they've given up a couple goals unsettled so far. You want to bury this quarter down on this end.
2 unsettled and 1 on the man down. It's been tough for Cold Spring Harbor to generate settled 6-on-6. As that is flipped, too tall for Passione. And 11.4 to go, an opportunity here for Cold Spring Harbor to add to its lead.
Yeah, you know, that's a tough pass. I would have liked to see Martini take a little bit more time, make a simpler pass, you know, with still a decent amount of time on the clock. But here comes that ride again.
Taken by Bruno. Just throws it up. Final seconds tick off the clock. And we are through 1 quarter.
It's been a fun one so far. These guys are getting after it, getting up and down a lot. This is exactly what worth the price of admission for sure.
As advertised, a matchup of reigning county champs. One goal game after one on the Varsity Media Sports Network.
You're watching Varsity Media, New York's high school sports network.
Parents, your support means everything to your athletes and to us at Varsity Media. To help us continue bringing you the best YouTube coverage of high school sports on Long Island, we invite business owners to consider a sponsorship on our broadcasts. If you own a business, consider a sponsorship for your athlete's team. It's a great way to show support, gain visibility, and keep the coverage going strong. Join us in making a difference. Contact Varsity Media today to learn more about broadcast sponsorship opportunities by emailing ben@varsitymedia.net.
High school sports fans, Varsity Media is the exclusive live stream partner of Nassau County Championships. To live stream fall, winter, and spring championship events, head to varsitymediapass.com to order. Now accessible on smart TVs. Varsity Media is your home for the Nassau County Championships. For the latest news in high school sports, be sure to check out varsitymedia.net or follow us on social media at Varsity Media.
No surprise with the recent success and long-term success, frankly, for Cold Spring Harbor that they have a number of standouts playing at the next level. And here's just a small collection of the group playing in the NCAAs.
Yeah, story program. There's a lot of guys from Cold Spring Harbor, dating back that just get after it, and they make an impact there as well.
And for Wantagh, of course, they have their crew, Jake Martini, the three Martini brothers. Jake last year an All-American. And Will Greaves at Adelphi won faceoffs at 72%. Has left a pretty sizable hole at the faceoff dot for the Warriors, which is something that they continue to work through in his absence.
Undoubtedly. First off, I'm going to give a shout-out also to Tyler Martini, who's playing at Binghamton. A few goals on the year, running midfield for them. Also someone who was up for All-American from Wantagh, year older than Jake. But it's true, you lose somebody like Will Greaves, and it's tough. But that happens in a lot of programs. So it's finding, kind of leaning on your other guys. And like we've been talking about throughout the entirety of the first quarter, how you're going to ride, what kind of defense you're going to play.
Bruno on the move, and it is stopped by Gianni Pissarro.
When your goalie's standing up tall in the goal like that and you're losing faceoffs, it's not a bad thing to see, especially when you have some athletes on the field.
Wantagh the other way, speeds into the box to get a touch, but they will rotate in their offensive personnel as Gendels takes care of the clear and then heads off after a job well done.
Yeah, it's a big save. Way to get up and out. Way to get that first one. He was tapping himself on the chest, the one he gave at the last one. That was nice.
Dylan Martini comes racing in out of the box. Lost track of my martinis, and thankfully Isaac Neal, the former Port Washington head coach, was there to get the correct count. Martini on cue, 3-all.
There's a few of them. If you get the last name right, you're pretty much all well and good. But at the same time, you just look at that play from Dylan. He does a good job of giving up the ball. Cold Spring Harbor so quick to slide. That's the defense that they run, and it bodes very well for them. Wantagh does a great job of just cycling the ball, getting a different matchup now. And Dylan's just such a heady player. He knows exactly where he wants to catch the ball and where he wants to finish it. So that's a great finish. And, again, you got to look for it from Coach Bond to make sure that they have their matchups on the defensive end, which is something he will continue to do throughout this game.
Each team now with 3 different goal scorers. Dylan pots that one for his 23rd, one behind Luke, his freshman younger brother.
So there you go. So they've been mucking it up a little bit at the face-off X. Causes Vitali to jump, which you will see. But at the same time, when you're able to scrap and you're able to put a pole in a guy's hands or a couple of different midfield looks up on the wings, and you had referenced this in the pregame, it makes them think a little bit, right? Vitali knows he might not win it clean or they're going to be on his hands. I'll be curious to see as well, when Cold Spring Harbor goes back into their zone. They had a lot of success with it in the first quarter. Wantagh right now, with their athletes, they do a good job sharing the ball. But for Cold Spring Harbor, this is also a test game for them too. So expect them to look for those matchups and look to find ways or things that they might not be as good at on film.
The pass for Passion off target. And so it is back to Cold Spring Harbor. Warriors near 50% at the faceoff X, 3 of 8. I think James Polo would sign up for that, extrapolate it out over the course of the entirety of the game.
100%. When you see this ride, too, Cold Spring Harbor does a great job of handling it, but that's about a 15-16 count. Over the course of the game, it's really hard to get into your offensive rhythm when it takes you that long to clear and you can't get up and out. And then you would have given the stat as well, just regarding some of the goals, and I always looked at this as a coach, that we give up in transition versus 6-on-6.
Bauer circles to that left hand. Step down shot from the outside for McKean, trying to add to his goal total. Roy Testa and Kevin Burns, the other 2 tallies, as we are tied at 3, underway in the second quarter.
See Wantagh getting those matchups. I really like what I see out of McKean so far today. He's somebody that you want to step up, and it was almost the announcer's curse, but they do a good job of maintaining possession. But you want to see guys like him be aggressive, and really add to the depth of that Cold Spring Harbor offense.
Another good-looking save by Gianni Pissarro. And Isaac, just games into your career, and you'll already have the cursing power.
You've got a book.
That's significant.
It exists. It's real. It's one of those things. You're like, no, don't say it, because you always want people to have a positive experience out in the field. But hey, it exists. It happens. I believe it's real.
Timeout taken. Cold Spring Harbor under pressure. And they'll use one of their 2 here with 9:04 to go.
So far, I think we're seeing deep benches by both teams. We're seeing guys maybe, quote-unquote, out of position. But at the same time, guys are having an opportunity to get on the field and play and really make their presence felt in what you would call, a prelude to the playoffs for each team.
Wantagh, especially on the offensive side, just loaded with future Division I talent, makes it so difficult to defend when you try to scout and think about how you're going to slow down one of the best offenses in Nassau County.
Yeah, it's a lot of athletes. That's what you look at. A lot of multi-sport athlete guys that just love to compete, guys that want to continue their college career, and it's amazing to see, their commitment not only to this sport but to the other sports that they participate for this high school as well.
That list included Carter Luffman, who is a midfielder bound for Albany, who is not playing today. And we'll look at the same type of list for Cold Spring Harbor. Of course, no great surprise, especially looking at the lists to begin the quarter, that there is more college-bound talent in the current lineup.
100%. And I'm sure there's guys on their sidelines who can play just as well. But, again, that commitment piece is really big. And you always want to thank both districts for supporting their student athletes. It's really important for these kids to have that direction heading into college.
The ball is on the right side.
So, Cold Spring Harbor usually calls us their railroad ride. So they bump a pole up, they put a short stick down. Martini does a really good job of just kind of James Browning it out, getting the ball, or Jim Browning it out, getting the ball out, clearing it himself.
Earlier timeout taken by Wantagh, I beg your pardon, as they had possession on the clear. And now a turnover right back to Cold Spring Harbor, except that Wantagh takes it back.
Yeah, that was tough. Wantagh ran a clear coming out of a timeout that they ended up with somebody offsides. But they did a good job riding the ball back. It's something that they do really well. And for Cold Spring Harbor, them getting used to playing that speed so far has taken them out of it a little bit. But at the same time, you go back to Coach Bond. He's going to be in that locker room going through some of those miscues and coming out with a abbreviated game plan in the second half, undoubtedly.
Wantagh this year has struggled with slow starts. Today they fell behind 2-0, but they have since tied it up at 2-3. As James Polo told me earlier this week, we've got to remember that these are 4-quarter games, not 2, referencing that it takes a little bit of time in the early season for this team to rev their engines to start.
Yeah, I think in any high school game, it always used to bother me to a degree. All these kids know each other, and they think they know how the game's going to go, or they think that they have an ability to maybe dictate how the game's going to go. It takes a little bit to settle in, right? Understand that it's the coach kind of pulling the strings on some of these X's and O's. Shot clock violation.
Cold Spring Harbor wanted a quick reset over midfield.
Yeah, kudos to the refs for doing a good job of just making sure that they got the call right. This looks like it's a two-man game, but these guys, two storied guys that are going to get up and down the field and make sure that they're making the right calls for the boys.
It's a lot of field to cover, a lot of ground to cover for just 2, and they've done it well, especially in this physical game with a lot of football and lacrosse crossover between these 2 small school programs.
Yeah, these guys know each other well. I had an opportunity to watch both of these teams play twice throughout the football season. There's athletes all over the field, and like I had said earlier, just guys who want to compete.
We are tied at 3, 5 minutes into the second quarter. It was 3-2 Cold Spring Harbor to start this period. Hands free and a shot wide.
A little bit of a different set for Cold Spring Harbor coming into this quarter, even though we're about halfway through. Wantagh's jumping into zone. Cold Spring Harbor came out in a 1-4, kind of setting those triangle picks. Wantagh's in zone now as well, playing chess.
What an interception. Into the passing lane is Nicholson, playing both ways. And now a very talented offensive player leading the break. Gets a touch, but does peel out as Wantagh will look to sub.
Well, that's that chess match, right? Wantagh jumps into zone. Maybe Tui didn't recognize it, or the bench didn't recognize it, and it offered an opportunity for a turnover.
Martini to his left hand, bounces it home, and Wantagh off the turnover takes its first lead of the game.
Again, another strong righty. He gets downhill, does a good job keeping his feet moving, knowing he has that left hand. So you see it here. He squares them up, uses that slice pick, that slip pick, gets downhill, kind of wards off the check, puts it in his left. That's a great change of levels as well for a goalie who's having a pretty good day for Cold Spring Harbor.
4-3, Wantagh, back-to-back goals for Dylan Martini. A couple of unassisted here in the second quarter. And he has taken the team lead from his younger brother Luke with his 24th of the season. Should be good dinner time discussion tonight if things hold.
They'll both be out shooting. We'll look out the window. They'll both be out shooting.
Dinner in the backyard. Forget about the table.
Undoubtedly. But these are guys who, on both teams, kids I've had the pleasure and opportunity of coaching, not only from Cold Spring Harbor, living local here in Wantagh. They do a really good job, these boys, of pulling each other out and getting each other better, right? There's no ego on either one of these teams. Bauer's going to Michigan. That's great. He wants everyone on his offense to be reciprocal. He wants everyone to have an opportunity to get a touch. It makes him better, right? It only bodes better for him. So there's a lot of strong senior and upperclassmen leadership in both of these programs, and that's why you see them having the success that they've been having.
Cold Spring Harbor spinning it around the box. From X is Roy Testa. Cold Spring Harbor playing from behind for the first time today.
When you see they're going to have to lean on Vitale a little bit more, extend some possession. That's a great shot by Bauer, great save.
Pissarro has made more stops today. Part of the way for Wantagh to get possession, in addition to their ride and as many ground balls that they can pick up.
That's frustrating. That's great offense. It's one of those things where you score, you're going to get that back, you're going to look to go on that nice two-goal swing. Phenomenal save. And now you have, Bauer down here playing defense, thinking about that shot, and he's going to want to look to make something happen. Should they get the save as well.
Martini already with 2, face dodging his way to his weak side.
Yeah, Cold Spring Harbor is very quick to slide, very quick to step up.
Passion in front. Good job by Bruno to eliminate that pass. Bauer comes up with a loose ball and finds the outlet in Kamer.
It's a great play. That's a very good heads-up play, too, right? We had talked about it earlier. Passion is a pass-first attackman. So to really collapse on the crease, get that check, and force the turnover. And now you've got Bauer looking to get one back.
He clears the midline.
So and you see it here, too, right? That short bench for Wantagh. Now you have Passion, who, I don't know if it's on purpose or not. He committed that turnover. Now he's down playing defense. Wantagh is really looking to just get guys in different positions that's going to help them clear against this Cold Spring Harbor ride.
And Cold Spring Harbor with 4:08 to go in the first half will take a timeout, trailing by 1 here on the road at Wantagh.
Time to book a Varsity Media Sportscast and get on the big stage. A Varsity Media Sportscast is seen by thousands of people, both live and on demand, from friends and family all over the world to prospective college coaches. Our announcers will help tell the story of your team and your athletes. There is no bigger stage to be on than Varsity Media. Book a sportscast today by contacting Varsity Media.
Dennis Bond in his 26th season out of Sewanaka and part of the Tom Flatley tree. Spent time at Garden City before taking over the Seahawks. What is it like going up against a Dennis Bond coach team?
I mean, it's a double-edged sword. He's one of those guys that's going to guide you. You know, he's very much known for his stewardship. For me as a young coach, he's someone who you can pick up the phone and, you know, even little things like how can you put out the balls on the end line before the game? Like, you find those things that just really make you go. He's going to give you all the answers, and he's going to teach you. But he's someone who we would practice a lot with going into the playoffs, so I could kind of steal some of those cues, right, or build on some of those things that he really sets out to do. He's a great guy, and like I said, a steward of the game, steward for all young coaches for sure.
It's a pretty special league when you know that you're going to test yourself day in and day out against the best of the county. And then for most of these teams, although it's the top 5 in A, B, and C, and the top team in D, Cold Spring Harbor preseason number 1, at least there's a part of this league that you go your separate ways, and then you go from adversaries to cheerleaders, you know, rooting on and wishing the best for the teams that you've tested yourself against throughout the regular year.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, we all coach because we enjoy the sport. The sport's provided a lot for us, right? You know, whether you're a coach or a player. And for these young guys, they're guys that spend the entirety of the summer, off-season training together, playing against each other. You want to see people do well. And like you would kind of reference it or alluded to it, it's almost like sharpening iron, right? So I'm very fortunate that Nassau has moved to that 3-conference league, you know, giving teams that might have had to play a Cold Spring Harbor or Wantagh in the past and not do as well on the scoreboard have an opportunity to compete. It's really all you want to see for any high school athlete.
Bauer's shot is off the pipe. McKean claims the rebound, and Bruno tracks down the ground ball. 4 to shoot. Another save, Pissarro. A kick save and a beauty.
You know, Wantagh jumped into that zone when the shot clock reset the first time, and it really gave them an opportunity for Pissarro to see that shot. But Cold Spring Harbor is doing a great job getting hands free, passing and moving without the ball, and setting themselves up.
The shot prior to the Pissarro save was not off of the iron, but rather a player in front. Now it's a full 60-second reset in which Cold Spring Harbor has already used close to 20 of it. Through the crease, Bruno the catch, and what a finish.
Yeah, that was a good job by Cold Spring Harbor, recognizing that Wantagh's in that zone, being a little bit more patient, right, giving themselves an opportunity to be a threat, and that's why that Bauer shot sets up this Bruno goal. Right, Bauer was able to free his hands. Now the defense softens a little bit more, and it provides that skip pass from Bauer to Bruno, and that's a phenomenal placement. You know, you've seen some of the shots by Pissarro, stick side, right? And it's not to say he's not going to save him off stick, but that was a great shot placement by Bruno to put it off stick.
Yeah, what was better, the tough catch or the placement of that shot? What an individual effort there by Bruno.
I definitely think the skip pass. That was a great skip
pass. Oh, you're going to the feeder. Okay.
Definitely going to the feeder, giving him a lot of credit on that.
Vitale, a clean win. Unsettled for Cold Spring Harbor. A blast is wide as Cold Spring Harbor has tied it up at 4.
Well, you know, when you have a storied coach like Dennis Bond, he's definitely, you see him clapping up Vitale right there as well. You know, you're losing a couple that allows Wantagh to stay in this game or keeps the game closer than you might have anticipated or wanted. But he's cheering on his guys, right? You're going to figure it out. It's a long game. There's going to be a lot more face-offs with both of these offenses playing the way that they're playing.
Tied at 2, 3, and now 4. Cold Spring Harbor was behind 4-3. But the second assist for Bauer to set up Bruno's first goal knots it up once again.
So you see the chess match. Wantagh's back out in zone, kind of talking through, not so much worried about the matchups, carrying the carrier.
That was deflected and stays with the Seahawks.
Yeah, they're going to resettle. You see Coach Bond pointing at the clock. They got 22 left. Going to still look to get somebody with their hands free in the middle of the field.
On the bouncer, Rex O'Connor. Part of that second midfield line for the Seahawks coming through for a 5-4 lead.
Well, that's a great shot. You know, you go to Bruno's goal, but you look at Rex O'Connor here, same thing. He does a great job of freeing his hands, changing his levels, right? There's been a lot of saves where balls have been stick sides on both goalie. You change your levels. You bounce the ball on that turf. You have a really good opportunity to score. So that's a phenomenal take and way to attack the middle.
Pissarro has given up 5, but I still say this with confidence that he's been hard to beat today.
100%. Well, and again, I would always say it to goalies too. This isn't soccer, right? Guys are going to score goals. You have some phenomenal players out here. They're going to score goals. It's really about that next play. So for Vitale right now, scrapping, he had won it. Wantagh ends up with it, and they might be able to get away from the 2-goal swing. It's a unique part of the sport, and it's a beautiful part of the sport.
Wantagh keeping it close at the face-off game and keeping it close on the scoreboard. Trailing by 1, but with possession. Warriors call timeout on the Varsity Media Sports Network.
Your support means everything to your athletes and to us at Varsity Media. To help us continue bringing you the best YouTube coverage of high school sports on Long Island, we invite business owners to consider a sponsorship on our broadcasts. If you own a business, consider a sponsorship for your athlete's team. It's a great way to show support, gain visibility, and keep the coverage going strong. Join us in making a difference. Contact Varsity Media today to learn more about broadcast sponsorship opportunities by emailing ben@varsitymedia.net.
High school sports fans, Varsity Media is the exclusive live stream partner of Nassau County Championships. To live stream fall, winter, and spring championship events, head to varsitymediapass.com to order. Now accessible on smart TVs. Varsity Media is your home for the Nassau County Championships.
James Polo is in the middle of the huddle and to the left. He's in his 7th season. He's out of Seaford.
Yeah, they've got a very good staff. You know, it focuses on Coach Latruche.
There we go.
Does a really good job with the defensive end of the field. You know, Coach Polo as well. You know, someone who teaches in Wantagh. He's been a staple in this program for a long time. Someone who understands these kids, looking to get the best out of them.
So as we've hearkened on the days of pre-shot clock, maybe we only see one more possession. 1:53 to go, 60 seconds left. What's the thought process here, do you think, with the Warriors down by 1?
You know, it's one of those things where you kind of leave it up to the 50-50, but you got to play chess. So we come out of this right now. Cold Spring Harbor's not in zone. They're locking off Dylan Martini, putting one of your better polls on Luke Martini. But Wantagh, they're ready for it.
And they find a clear lane. Jacobello ring it up. A blast to tie it at 5.
It's a hard thing to do. You know, old school coaches like Coach Bond and guys who have retired, guys are prepared for this. So Wantagh comes out and they're ready to run a set play regardless of whether, you know, Dylan Martini's locked off or not. That's a great job, just freeing hands again, going off stick hit, changing your levels, shooting for the back of the net. It's a great answer there by Wantagh, and now we got a scrap for the next minute and 30.
It was set up by the Passion dodge from X and setup. We're tied for the 4th time.
Well, that's one of the things that both of these squads have opportunity to do. You know, from their midfield and attack standpoint, they have guys that score a lot of goals. So, yeah, lock off Dylan Martini. That's fine. They've got Passion who wants to feed first. They've got Luke Martini. They've got other guys who are going to score.
5-5, 1:26 to go. And now Cold Spring Harbor out of timeouts after the clean win by Alex Vitale. He's won 8 of 12 today at the Face-Off X.
Not a bad stat. You know, look for Coach Bond, Coach Lynch to draw something up for both zone and man. You know, it's one of those things where as they play chess against Wantagh's offense, they're going to be ready for Wantagh to do the same thing. You know, whether they start in man and then jump into zone or start in zone and jump into man, they've got 60 seconds, so they're going to have to go to the goal.
Dennis Bond, 26 years. As mentioned, most wins in Nassau active, 360. Picked up his most recent one on the road at Yorktown, beating the Huskers for the 4th time in 4 years.
Yeah, you know, Coach Bond had talked about before their game against Syosset about taking that spring break trip. You know, for them, they do want to emulate what the playoffs are going to look like, right? So they have to go up to Westchester. They're always up in Westchester. He wants to make sure his kids know what it's like to get on the bus, you know, sleep in a hotel, or maybe take the day trip and then go participate against, you know, Yorktown's a very storied program. A lot of greats have come out of there. So it's one of those opportunities that they take full advantage of, and something else as well that the Power Conference allows for, right? To play that good Nassau County game and then go play against someone who maybe you've only seen once or on film, or just let the boys play.
Played Thursday against Rye, lost to the Garnets. They've split 4, playing over the last 4 years. Spent the day in southern Westchester, some Team bonding at a bowling alley. No confirmation on scores for that day, but I'm sure bragging rights will last. And then that Saturday victory at Charlie Murphy Field.
I wouldn't be surprised if Dennis Bond has his own ball. Comes out. He understands exactly how the course is going to run or how the lane's going to run.
He oiled it himself. That's the rumor.
Most likely. So you see Wantagh coming out man-to-man. They're probably going to look to force some slides, kind of get the ball out of these Cold Spring Harbor sticks. Cold Spring Harbor does a really good job of getting downhill. They also do a very good job. They're excellent at moving without the ball once they give it up. So you're going to look for Wantagh to have to slide and recover quickly, and for Cold Spring Harbor to take advantage with their crisp ball movement.
Dylan Riley out there as part of the midfield unit as Cold Spring Harbor rotates in a couple of juniors. O'Connor scored on the last one. Now it's Riley part of this group. Bruno double-teamed and dispossessed. 40 seconds to go. Wantagh unsettled. Nicholson looks behind and once again peeling away instead of trying to take advantage of potential numbers.
You know, that's a great play by Nicholson. It's one of those things where he's competed against these guys on the football field. You watch him play. Big physical midi. Not afraid to put his hands on somebody, get down, and he's going to stay on and play some offense as well. So Wantagh playing the clock right now.
Jacobello had the last goal to tie it at 5. Feeds the high crease. Stachlik devoured and lost it. Ulico the other way with the pole. 5 seconds to go. On the deck, taken by Cole Newman. A shot at the horn is deflected shy of the crease. And we head to halftime, tied at 5.
Hey, this is what we paid for, right? This is exactly why we wanted to be here. You had talked about it. Were we going to end up with the ball getting sat on for a minute 30? No, we've got multiple looks by both teams, headed into the half, keeping that energy high. And with a tie score, halftime score is pointless right now. I'm looking forward to a solid second half.
Wantagh, the defending Nassau Sea champs. Cold Spring Harbor, the defending champs in Class D. It's a yearly matchup that has reached halftime. Cold Spring Harbor 5, Wantagh 5 on the Varsity Media Sports Network.
Parents, your support means everything to your athletes and to us at Varsity Media. To help us continue bringing you the best YouTube coverage of high school sports on Long Island, we invite business owners to consider a sponsorship on our broadcasts. If you own a business, consider a sponsorship for your athlete's team. It's a great way to show support, gain visibility, and keep the coverage going strong. Join us in making a difference. Contact Varsity Media today to learn more about broadcast sponsorship opportunities by emailing ben@varsitymedia.net. Hey parents, Varsity Media is now offering ISO video of just your athlete. Why settle for the wide angle that shows every player on the field? With our ISO video, your athlete is front and center the entire game. This footage will help in creating highlight videos for college coaches to better pinpoint your athlete's play on the field. Watching our video will help your athlete improve progressively throughout the season and may lead to a college scholarship. Varsity Media is now booking ISO videos for the spring, but spots are limited. Contact us today for lacrosse, baseball, softball, and tennis by calling 516-403-2050 or emailing ben@varsitymedia.net.
High school sports fans, Varsity Media is the exclusive live stream partner of Nassau County Championships. To live stream fall, winter, and spring championship events, head to varsitymediapass.com to order. Now accessible on smart TVs. Varsity Media is your home for the Nassau County Championships. For all the latest Varsity Media updates, including our game schedules, be sure to follow us on social media at Varsity Media, the home for New York high school sports. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for upcoming schedules and content, and on social media at Varsity Media.
When it comes to live streaming, Varsity Media does it all. Athletic events, concerts, musicals, graduations, even weddings. Trust Varsity Media when it comes to your live stream event. Contact us today to learn more about Varsity Media's live streaming services at 516-403-2050 or email ben@varsitymedia.net.
He's got room to go. Merrill towards the end zone. Lost his lid. Touchdown!
JJ Damo, face on, stay on athlete. Controlling the face-off. That's 3 in a row now.
You're watching Varsity Media, New York's high school sports network. Varsity Media is now opening up our schedule to any team looking to be on a sportscast. Watching yourself on camera is okay, but hearing your name on a Varsity Media sportscast is like you're a pro.
And look at this opportunity. Feldman behind. Jersey pulled. Feldman! Feldman!
The loose ball, Keyshawn White has it. He's just going to let it fly. Oh! Keyshawn White from half court. That is cash. What a way to end the third quarter.
Look at this. Merrill. No slide. No problem. Gary Merrill goes top corner.
Varsity Media offers sports coverage for any sport, and our coverage airs live and on demand so everyone can watch the game. Now is the time to be a star on Varsity Media. Contact us to book a sportscast today at 516-403-2050 or email ben@varsitymedia.net. Are you a local business looking for new and creative ways to promote your company? Varsity Media offers affordable rates that can get your message across to a demographic of 18 to 54 years of age. Our follower base across social media is 75,000 strong, and our viewership numbers per game are in the thousands. Don't blow your advertising budget on old staples like TV and radio media. Reach out to Varsity Media to get the best bang for your buck.
It's time to book a Varsity Media Sportscast and get on the big stage. A Varsity Media Sportscast is seen by thousands of people, both live and on demand, from friends and family all over the world to prospective college coaches. Our announcers will help tell the story of your team and your athletes. There is no bigger stage to be on than Varsity Media. Book a sportscast today by contacting Varsity Media. Parents, your support means everything to your athletes and to us at Varsity Media. To help us continue bringing you the best YouTube coverage of high school sports on Long Island, we invite business owners to consider a sponsorship on our broadcasts. If you own a business, consider a sponsorship for your athlete's team. It's a great way to show support, gain visibility, and keep the coverage going strong. Join us in making a difference. Contact Varsity Media today to learn more about broadcast sponsorship opportunities by emailing ben@varsitymedia.net. Hey parents, Varsity Media is now offering ISO video of just your athlete. Why settle for the wide angle that shows every player on the field? With our ISO video, your athlete is front and center the entire game. This footage will help in creating highlight videos for college coaches to better pinpoint your athlete's play on the field. Watching our video will help your athlete improve progressively throughout the season and may lead to a college scholarship. Varsity Media is now booking ISO videos for the spring, but spots are limited. Contact us today for lacrosse, baseball, softball, and tennis by calling 516-403-2050 or emailing ben@varsitymedia.net.
High school sports fans, Varsity Media is the exclusive live stream partner of Nassau County Championships. To live stream fall, winter, and spring championship events, head to varsitymediapass.com to order. Now accessible on smart TVs. Varsity Media is your home for the Nassau County Championships. For all the latest Varsity Media updates, including our game schedules, be sure to follow us on social media at Varsity Media, the home for New York high school sports. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for upcoming schedules and content, and on social media at Varsity Media.
When it comes to live streaming, Varsity Media does it all. Athletic events, concerts, musicals, graduations, even weddings. Trust Varsity Media when it comes to your live stream event. Contact us today to learn more about Varsity Media's live streaming services at 516-403-2050 or email ben@varsitymedia.net.
Cold Spring Harbor 5, Wantagh 5, getting set for the second half. With Isaac Neal, the former Port Washington coach, David Resnick here in Wantagh. Still an overcast evening here in Nassau County. Cold Spring Harbor wanted a loose ball push. Instead, Wantagh begins the third quarter with possession and a face-off win, and credit that unit for keeping it tight.
Yeah, you know, Wantagh never got a touch, or they just did. But great job by Wantagh just putting pressure. You know, Vitali's been having a pretty good day. You know, he's going to look to just kind of manage through some of the pressure that Wantagh's putting on right now and try to extend those possessions, which was that key for Cold Spring Harbor.
4 different goal scorers for Wantagh in that first, headlined by a pair from Dylan Martini. In front, a whiff of a shot as it bounces to the aforementioned Dylan Martini to settle things with 30 seconds left on the shot clock.
Yeah, you know, Cold Spring Harbor, again, doing a really good job of sliding fast, making sure that they're limiting some of the shots that Wantagh is able to see. You know, they're locking it now, so now you see them bump that pole back up, go 5-on-5. Instead of this time jumping into the zone, or now they're coming off of it.
I think a question as to whether or not there should be a reset. Michael Forgione and Doug Schiller talking it over.
Forgione would definitely know. You know, his son was a goalie for Garden City. He's going to know whether or not that ball hit. He's going to make sure he communicates up to the booth, and then they're going to look to get it right. You know, kudos to these two, and you had referenced it in the first half. You know, a two-man game, making sure that they're getting some of these calls right, not only allowing the boys to play, but making sure that the game's played the right way.
No. Can you zoom in on the ref over here? I saw it. Yes, to the. Okay. Yeah. And he's not doing anything. I'm staying on one. He's not. Shot time. Go back to you.
So that gives, you know, both teams a chance to kind of get settled. You know, Cold Spring Harbor has jumped into their zone. Wantagh is able to kind of start to call out what's going on. And, again, they're going to play chess this entirety of the second half. You know, especially the tied game, right? Goals have been pretty hard to come by.
I mean, you're a better evaluator of what I'm about to say than I am, but typically you talk about chess matches or adjustments, quarter breaks, halftime. We're going possession by possession making changes.
Yeah, I mean, these are two teams that know how to play, right? And again, this deep into the season, they definitely understand some of the looks. For both coaches, Coach Bond's sitting here saying it, there's 30 seconds left, let's get in zone. Let's make them have to waste 10, 15 seconds, take them out of their rhythm. Wantagh likes to score fast, and you've seen it too, down on the other end where Wantagh's done a pretty good job of mixing up their zone packages, slide packages, and help with their ride. But at the same time, it really does take an offense out of what they're looking to do or maybe what is more comfortable for them.
Kamer makes the nice save on the other end defensively for Cold Spring Harbor as the Seahawks get their first settled possession of the second half in this tie game.
Yeah, something to look at with Cold Spring Harbor, and Coach Bond talks about it, is, the amount of failed clears versus the clears that they had opportunities to make. You want to make sure that you're well above that 80 to 90% range so you can get shots like what was just taken.
Thought Pissarro might have gotten a piece as it skipped by.
Yeah, definitely a reset. It looked like it hit the side of the post. But again, kudos to Cold Spring Harbor's offense for getting downhill, freeing their hands, and testing Wantagh's defense throughout the entirety of this game. 5
different goal scorers for Cold Spring Harbor in that first half, including Sam Bruno, who has it here, 50 in the blue. Frees his hands and fires. Pissarro got a piece as it bounces over the net for another restart.
Yeah, that was a great shot. Great shot, great save. Bruno gets to that strong right hand, changes his levels, throws the bouncer, but Pissarro's ready for it on that one.
Amazing that both coaches talked entering this game as a high save as Pissarro kept the stick in line of that shot, about trying to figure out an identity or who they're going to be. And I think it's partly where they are in the season, midway through, partly because the non-league games for the most part are over, and also just because you're going up against another similarly sized school and sized power and former county champ to really set the tone for the home stretch.
Well, and a lot of coaches talk about identity, and they relate it or it's synonymous with confidence, right? So being confident in what you run, being confident in the guys who are going to get the job done, and then quite frankly, right, every game someone's going to win, someone's going to lose. So if you're going to lose a game, you want to do it confidently. You want to do it knowing you were able to execute at times, and maybe the other team was just able to kind of game plan or do something. Maybe the ball just rolled one time, one way, a little bit different that allowed them to win that game. But that confidence is huge when it comes to any team's identity.
To your point, James Polo saying it's not losing, it's learning. Learning, not losing, and what level are we at? Hopefully we'll have an answer after 48 minutes on this Tuesday evening.
100%.
Approaching 10 seconds to go on the shot clock.
Cold Spring Harbor's in zone again.
Passion behind the cage. Bauer looking to slide quickly as the pass through the crease is broken up. And it is a shot clock violation forced by the Seahawks.
One thing that I'm noticing as Cold Spring Harbor jumps into that zone, Wantagh's not really moving a lot. They're moving the ball pretty well, but they don't have guys, cycling in and out of the crease, guys setting off ball picks. Cold Spring Harbor, kudos to them and Coach Bond for having his boys ready to jump into that zone, everyone on the same page, communicating through their positions, and slowing down this Wantagh offense. Great job by their defense.
O'Connor subs in and brings it in. Dennis Bond saying, we haven't shown the grit yet. Our guys aren't fully understanding that winning doesn't just happen. You've got to work for it. And just because they've got 8 titles in a row doesn't mean that a 9th is coming in Nassau County. As another turnover by Cold Spring Harbor leads to a settled possession for the Warriors.
Look, you talk to a lot of young coaches, right? There's guys that want to be in programs like a Manhasset, a Garden City, a Cold Spring Harbor. But at the same time, there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. Right? Understanding that you have to hold these young 14, 15, 16-year-olds accountable for the work that they put in, the trust that they have in each other, and then their ability to compete throughout a long season.
That bouncer on the move, and Martini a hat trick. Wantagh back in front with the 6-5 third quarter lead.
So you talk about identity and confidence, right? This is a young man who is an extremely confident player, right? You see him square up. They look to get that matchup. He doesn't care if it's the short stick or the pole or if they're sliding early. He's going to get to where he wants to get to. And another great job by a shooter in this game freeing their hands. But that's way too much space to give Dylan Martini for any shot.
Third goal, third unassisted. Blew in right past the defender there to free his hands and scored it. Seven of 15 for Wantagh at the faceoff X.
So you see the Wantagh wings kind of zippering up and down, trying to just play with Vitale and where he wants to go with the ball.
Vitale earns the faceoff win for Cold Spring Harbor.
You know, both these teams do a really good job of subbing off and on, getting their personnel on. You know, they're playing with purpose and with a plan. You know, Coach Lynch running the offense under Coach Bond understands who's on the field and what they want to run at any given time.
Pace of this game favoring Cold Spring Harbor, the better defensive unit.
Yeah, they've always had storied polls.
From the outside, Roger Testa ring it up. Tied once again, deadlocked at 6.
Well, that's a great job by Bauer, right? And again, we'll go on that theme of confidence and identity. Bauer, Division I midfielder, gets that slide early, does a really good job of freeing his hands, making the correct pass, and Testa says, look, I know what to do with it once you get it to me. Very unselfish play, very great finish. Way to answer back by Cold Spring Harbor.
37 seconds between goals. Tied for the 5th time. Roger Testa, his first of the game, one of our pregame impact players for the way that he has really come on as a senior after a couple of injury-plagued years. And the third assist for Alex Bauer, the two-time All-County honoree. Give the face-off win to Wantagh. 2 out of 3 in this third. Martini on the move. Looking to get around Sam Davis. Good stop there by Kamer.
Yeah, that's a great hands-free there. You know, rings off the goalie's face mask. And, again, you start looking at every time that whistle blows, the ball's out of bounds. I'm looking at what Cold Spring Harbor's doing. They're back in zone again. So I'd really love to see Wantagh kind of pass and move, look to free up some of that space. But Cold Spring Harbor's doing a really good job of protecting the middle where Luke Martini is.
Back to Stachlik. And now Martini. Cole Newman, the long stick midfielder, eyeing him. Skip pass. A riser is over the crossbar from Jacobello.
See, and even just the kind of shot that they got there, right? That inside movement really freed up that skip pass, and although it wasn't on net, you know, kudos to Wantagh for doing a little bit more with the ball movement. And now Cold Spring Harbor comes out. They get matched up.
And Jacobello this time on target.
And they give one up on the matchup, right? So you look at it now as teams are playing against formidable competition, guys that they're used to seeing, guys they're used to competing against. You see Wantagh doing a good job of playing without the ball. Cold Spring Harbor's looking to match up on the end line. That's good hands-free and another level change, off-stick hip. You know, I'll be a broken record saying it, but for a lot of young kids, you're aiming for corners. It ends up in the back of the goalie's stick. You're putting one off the ground and putting it off people's hips. You have a much better chance of that ball, either that spin for the reset on the 60 or the face-off right after it.
I think it was Dylan Martini that spotted him through the crease to give him an assist in addition to his 3 goals.
Great job by Vitale there, right? Just trusting in his ability to win the ball and then getting it back to Bauer. That's not a bad place to put the ball.
Getting back to even at the face-off X in the third quarter. Advantage throughout the game to Cold Spring Harbor, but not quite at the 14 of 16 level Vitale was at this past weekend on the road in a non-league game.
Well, and you start looking at it, too, right now. You know, is fatigue going to set in for either team? Who's going to get the next stop? And then who's going to get that next clear? You know, both these teams ride very well. They pride themselves on clearing the ball, or doing a good job clearing the ball. So who can get a stop and a clear, you know, when you might have a little bit of tired legs from playing both offense and defense?
Testa gets the advantage, but couldn't beat Pissarro after he got topside.
It's a great save. You know, great job by Testa. Changes levels there. Pissarro was ready for it.
Jack Lee defending and forcing Testa into a shot that Pissarro could track right along the post.
That's a great clear by Wantagh, too. Getting the ball to Nicholson. You know, again, that confident and that identity piece, knowing that some of your seniors are going to step up, kind of handle that ball when it's needed to be cleared. Martini
on the move. Getting pushed off his dodge. Changing direction, now spins, draws the double team, a skip pass, and a save. Fought off by Matty Kamer.
It's a great shot, change levels. I talked about it earlier. It's a great save by Kamer.
In front and slammed home. Martini from Nicholson. First 2-goal advantage for Wantagh tonight.
I mean, you throw it through to him, he's catching the ball, and it's in the back of the net. It's almost silly to watch, honestly, the way that he finishes it and the confidence that a senior has in the freshman, whereas the 8th grader last year was top 3 in points in the power conference. But, great ride back off of that save by Kamer. Again, that's why you say to young players, change the level. Ball might go out of bounds, goes off the goalie. You have a chance at that 50-50, and you're still just playing lacrosse versus running guys to the box to go ride.
3-1 advantage in this third quarter.
That's one that Kamer definitely wants back, right? He makes that first save, great save, and then it just doesn't go his way on the next one.
Vitale, another win, back-to-back.
So it's interesting, right? You start to look at, and I want to start counting it on the stops, right? Vitale now, it looks like he's starting to settle in a little bit, winning the ball to himself versus relying on his wings, where they're being kind of matched with Wantagh's athleticism. Now they just have to capitalize throughout the course of this game on some of the offensive sets. You saw Cold Spring Harbor running that 1-4, which they're back in now. They ran a couple of inverts here and there, no slide, and they're going to look to try to just put shots on net.
Riley sends it home, and Cold Spring Harbor out of position for the backup. Luke Perfetti was closest to the ball where and when it went out of bounds. So 1 and done for Cold Spring Harbor, trailing by 2. And the Warriors have a chance to string together 3 straight for the first time tonight after breaking a 6-all tie. But not there.
See, and that's one, Passion's going to want back as well. You might want to work a little bit harder for that pass, after the nice save, after the defensive stop, after them getting the ball back, in an unsettled position. Look for them to ride hard right here.
These rosters are loaded with talent, but not depth. And this has been a physical, battle for every inch kind of game. And I do wonder, to your point, how fatigue plays a factor over the final 14 minutes as these teams exchange turnovers in the middle of the field.
Well, the shot clock definitely plays a factor, right? I mean, you're forced to play offense. You're forced to play defense as guys are playing offense. So it's one of those things, both of these teams feature a lot of two-way middies. Cold Spring Harbor, I think, is a little bit deeper at the midfield than Wantagh. But at the same time, you need guys to play smart when they're tired and then make sure that they take care of the ball in the clear and use that entirety of the 60.
Oh, it's on the right side.
Nicholson, turns the corner. Passion up top, and Kamer stuffs it. He tracked it high to high from Stachlik and comes up with a massive save with his team down 2. But there is the Wantagh ride. In front, unsettled, and Luke Martini slams it home.
I mean, when you talk, let's go to identity and confident, right? Wantagh is going to play fast. They understand that they're fully confident in their ride. All their kids are so smart in the way that they play. You look at this goal, that's a great ride back. Way to have your head up. And again, you have Luke Martini in and around the goal. It's in the back of the net. Go face him off. So you're going to look for Cold Spring Harbor to settle down a little bit in the clear. For Kamer to settle down a little bit in the clear, not looking to get the ball out as fast. But now they have to start to chip away. So look for that intensity and that speed to keep going for both teams.
Believe that was Dylan to Luke for goal number 9. Third time this season that Cold Spring Harbor has allowed 9 goals. The next one for Wantagh.
And that's 3 for 3 for Vitale. So you're going to look for Cold Spring Harbor now to get into a set, figure out a matchup most likely.
Would be the first time, if they do concede, double digits in a game. And after the face-off win, it's thrown away.
Well, and this is one of those situations that Coach Bond's been in before, right? And it's one of those where, and not in a game where it doesn't matter because every game matters, but it's a non-league game. So you want to learn a little bit about yourself. Can you play down 3, right? Especially when you're winning face-offs. Can you settle down? Can you get a good shot? Can you play against Wantagh's defense? Maybe ride a couple back on their own. A juice goal here and there will definitely help. But they got to get a stop.
9-6 in favor of Wantagh. 4-1 advantage in the third quarter. Wantagh conceded the first 2 goals Passion dodging from the top, changing positions compared to his typical office behind the net, which he goes there now to restart play with 33 seconds left on the shot clock.
Yeah, Cold Spring Harbor jumped back into the zone, but a good job by Passion, understanding he has the short stick, getting his hands free.
All the way to the top of the box. High crease, the bouncer for Stachlik is off target. Now 26 to shoot.
See, it's hard too, right? So now even as you're playing in zone, whether you're a short stick or a long pole, you're looking for those shooters, right? You're looking for guys who are going to handle the ball, guys that want to give it up. Good job by Luke Martini there, throwing the ball inside when normally he's the one letting it go.
Martini draws the double and spins it. Nicholson down the right alley, slots it home high. 10-6 Warriors late in the third.
I mean, does this kid come off the field? It's one of those, he's cleared the ball for them the last few. Now he's down there dipping under, little toe drag with his left hand. I mean, but again, that's great ball movement by Wantagh, right? Guys carrying the ball a little bit longer, banging the ball, and then moving without it. So even though Cold Spring Harbor's in zone, you now force that rotation to have to come up that short stick, who's used to having the help from the guy on the crease in his zone. Nicholson does a good job of just toe dragging underneath, dipping his head, and finishing it high.
Second for Nicholson, the junior bound for Villanova, coming off of a sophomore year in which he was all-county. 4 in a row for Wantagh. Another face-off win for Vitali. He's starting to pick up momentum at the dot, but it is not resulting into goals for Cold Spring Harbor as Bauer sends that one wide with 8.7 to go.
Well, and it's one of those things, too, like when your face-off guy's winning, it's a great job out there by Bruno, freeing his hands right off the end line, understanding there were about 6 seconds left. You know, I don't think Wantagh knew whether they were jumping into zone there or in man-to-man, but that, again, great shot.
Had to hurry off the restart, and he took advantage.
Well, that's one of those things, right? I mean, they might have been down 4. Coach Bond's telling his guys, we still have a whole quarter to play. If there's a second on the clock, we can put one on net. It's really all that you need. So great job by Cold Spring Harbor to matching that speed that Wantagh is playing with off the end line down here on their offensive end.
Vitali's been winning it clean. 4.7 left. Can he play make it, take it, and create one last transition opportunity? Slightly overran it. Here is Bauer. Fires from the outside. And plenty of distance for Pissarro to track to end the third quarter with a stop. Wantagh at 1 point taking a 4-goal lead, but a late second goal by Cold Spring Harbor makes this one a bit more interesting as we enter the fourth quarter on the Varsity Media Sports Network.
Hey parents, Varsity Media is now offering ISO video of just your athlete. Why settle for the wide angle that shows every player on the field? With our ISO video, your athlete is front and center the entire game. This footage will help in creating highlight videos for college coaches to better pinpoint your athlete's play on the field. Watching our video will help your athlete improve progressively throughout the season and may lead to a college scholarship. Varsity Media is now booking ISO videos for the spring, but spots are limited. Contact us today for lacrosse, baseball, softball, and tennis by calling 516-403-2050 or emailing ben@varsitymedia.net.
Ready to start the fourth quarter with the former Port Washington head coach Isaac Neal, David Resnick, and let's get you caught up with all of the great games coming your way in the next couple of days. Chaminade St. Anthony's, one of the best rivalries in the area, plus these others through the rest of the week. Shout out Vikings, who are playing Massapequa.
Yeah, that's a good game. You know, it's going to be one of those, they're playing Oceanside tonight. There's a couple surprises, I think, that are coming out of that game. And then at the same time, people start to get into the league. That's when it matters. You know, as a coach, I always felt and held there that those games matter the most because that's who you're playing in playoffs, and those are the games that really do count in terms of seeding. But obviously this game right here, you know, a lot matters. Can Wantagh continue and play with the lead, or do they become complacent? And then at the same time, do you have an opportunity for Cold Spring Harbor to kind of chip away and not try to hit a three-pointer, which does not exist in this sport?
Wantagh is about to go on the extra man for the first time tonight after the 30-second technical for a push.
Yeah, Coach Bond's not going to be too happy about that, but at the same time, you have a goalie that's playing pretty well. You have a face-off guy that's now, won the last 5. So, it's one of those. If you give up a goal, you have a great chance to get it back. Your goalie's standing on his head in the cage, you have a great chance to get it back.
Wantagh on the man up, leading by 3 early in the fourth.
These Cold Spring Harbor Poles, they do a really good job of just making themselves big in the middle of the field, chopping down some of those passing lanes.
10 seconds left on the McKean push. Kamer fought that one off and covered up inside the crease. Cold Spring Harbor on the man down at 82% on the season, kills off another.
Well, that's what we talk about, right? Coach Bond, he's not going to get too down on his guys for any of those penalties because they're all hustle plays. But here's that Wantagh ride again, right? Nice shot by Luke Martini where Kramer's able to clean it up. But then at the same time, Wantagh does a great ride even as the penalty expired. So now we got Bauer, face guard, and Passion. Dylan Martini with the short stick. So look for Wantagh just to kind of capitalize on this, but Cold Spring Harbor doing a good job of being prepared in terms of their 5-on-5 defense.
Dylan Martini across goal line extended. Newman comes over for help. Split dodge for Giacobello, and he retreats.
That's a great job by the Cold Spring Harbor defense. Right, good job slide and recover, getting back to their matchups.
22 seconds to shoot, and there is 22. Martini going 5-hole as Wantagh with the opening salvo of the fourth.
He's one of those kids that's so frustrating to coach against, right? He knows where that shot's going before it's even in the back of his own stick. Sets up the dodge off the pass, knows he has the short, he squares him up, and he knows that he's going 5-hole on. That's a great finish by 22.
First year for the shot clock?
First year for the shot clock. First year for the shot clock. It's something that a lot of these kids play with in club lacrosse, right? So they're used to it. The coaches are used to it. I think the refs had to get used to it. Guys up in the booth had to get used to it. But at the same time, it's such a great thing for this sport in terms of even right there, right? They could have sat on the ball, spun it another couple minutes being up. It forces kids to play, and that's where Cold Spring Harbor is going to learn a lot about themselves and their identity when you have Vitale now, 6 for 6.
And it completely changes the course of this next 9:50, a 4-goal lead. Typically in the past, something that you sit on or think about sitting on, not so much the case under these new guidelines.
No, and you see Wantagh going a little bit deeper into their bench right now from their midfield, looking to get guys on the field. We talked about that potential for fatigue, but again, you're learning something when you're leading. You're learning something if you're down, and it's an opportunity for guys to just get better as a team.
Bauer shoots that one. Rebound taken by Testa just to the side of the crease.
Great shot by Bauer. Off stick hit. Might have hit the goalie's leg. May have hit the pipe, and he's going to look to keep getting back downhill again.
He's got 3 helpers, but looking to become a goal scorer here with his team down 4. That one bounces wide, and Roy Testa is there for the backup.
Yeah, you've seen a lot of different offensive sets by Cold Spring Harbor, really trying to maximize their guys' potential depending on who's on the field. But at the same time, understanding that a slide is going to come, so who's that next guy?
Blast by Bruno. Another piece of it for Pissarro, who's finally the save numbers are now beginning to match the type of effort that he's put forth.
No, absolutely. But the one thing, I want to see Cold Spring Harbor get downhill a little bit more. We called their game against Syosset. Bauer, a lot of these guys, Bruno, they did a great job squaring their hips, getting downhill, finishing on the run. A goalie like Pissarro, you set your feet, he's found the ball in the back of the stick. They got to do a better job of just getting downhill and then finishing the shots that they're working for, because they're doing a pretty good job letting it go.
Bruno misses off-stick side.
Yeah, Wantagh's in zone. So you got to look for that counter as well from Cold Spring Harbor's offense.
And there's Pissarro, to your point, from 10 yards out, tracked it. They're not getting in tight to really challenge Pissarro in a different way.
They're not. But that's one of those ones I know Pissarro wants back, right? He's looking all the way up at the attack and not giving his clear a chance to kind of manifest. They're running different guys on and off from Wantagh. There's different guys who are maybe a little bit deeper into the bench now playing defense. So he might have forced that one. That's one he's going to want back, especially if Cold Spring Harbor is able to capitalize.
Luke Onsowski was out there, somebody still fighting for some minutes as Wantagh tries to build some depth, especially offensively. Carter Luffman out, which means Sean Stachlik has played more. Onsowski, a player that is trying to earn more time.
Well, and you talk about it too, right? And speaking with a lot of the coaches, especially on the executive board in Nassau County last year, about the Power Conference. And you do have a lot of these programs, Coach Bond included, who talk about when do they get some of their depth or guys an opportunity to play a little bit more. And it's kind of a catch-22. There's times where you're playing against a team that might not be of higher quality, so you have kind of what I would call that fabricated depth being built on guys. Or in this case, you have guys who haven't played a lot that are coming out and playing against Wantagh or playing against Cold Spring Harbor and getting a chance to, let their practice kind of come to fruition.
What's going to be so interesting going forward, thinking big picture, especially for the Class C and D schools in this Power League, is that in the past, you used to build your non-league schedule to elevate your overall strength of schedule, to test you in a way that perhaps some of your league opponents could not. Now the theory might be to put together a non-league schedule that allows your team not to take a day off, as Martini dodges, but allow your team to build that depth, as Stachlik is somebody who now has 4 goals in the last 3 as his playing time has risen.
Yeah, that's a great change of level by Stachlik. Drops his hands, lets one come off, kind of on the errant pass inside to Luke Martini. We call that, or I would always call it like a, hey, look what I found. But he did a really good job of finishing that shot, taking advantage of, you were just talking about it, his time on the field. And from six in the hash, you got to put that on net. That's a slam dunk right there. But, going back to what you were saying earlier about being able to kind of build that strength of schedule, I think it's great for Nassau County top to bottom, right? There'd be games where we'd be playing over spring break and we're playing against a team that, I hate to say it this way, but they know that they feel like they're going to lose coming off the bus and we feel like we're going to win. You want as many kids in every single district on Long Island playing lacrosse, right? We want JV teams. We want depth. So when you're playing against the competition that you undoubtedly should be playing against, you need some of the guys on your bench to step up. And that's something that Wantagh and Cold Spring Harbor have been able to do in terms of getting these guys minutes and allowing those minutes to be meaningful throughout the course of this game.
Stachlik had 2 against Pleasantville last time out. He was one of 7 players with at least 2 points. And now his 4th goal in the last 3. Tremendous growth from last year now as a junior playing along that attack line for Wantagh.
Well, and it's one of those things, like, I always get frustrated when announcers refer to guys on a college game as, they finally got a chance and got in. These are guys who are guys, right? All-Americans in high school. For someone like Luke Martini, who just scored, playing as an 8th grader, he does a really good job. But there's other 8th graders and other freshmen who can be just as good as him once given an opportunity. But this is a man goal right here. We've seen Luke score a lot of these. This is on Cold Spring Harbor's best defender along with the slide. But that's that juice that they're playing with, riding the ball back, right? Losing 6 and 7 face-offs in a row and then having the opportunity and the fortitude to ride the ball back and then take advantage of their opportunities.
Timeout, Cold Spring Harbor after Wantagh leads by 6. It's a 13-7 advantage. And next up for Wantagh, the alma mater of their head coach, James Polo. They'll play Seaford, Cary, and Southside all here at home. This is game 9 and just their third game here at home, so the schedule's starting to balance out. And then as part of this quartet of games, on May 9th, they'll be at Plain Edge.
Yeah, well, and even right here, right, we're talking about the Power Conference. All 4 of those teams are in there as well. Gives them an opportunity to see if they are as good as they're playing, right? And it also allows it where you don't really have a letdown game.
In 3 days, Cold Spring Harbor will once again be on the Varsity Media Sports Network against the Cyclones of Southside, Huntington, Plain Edge, and then a big matchup on the road against Garden City.
Well, I think the big matchup is going to be that Huntington game, right? In coaching and talking to Coach Watts at Huntington, really talking about that rivalry that they have. They have a trophy for the game, and it sits in the locker room of the team that won it the year prior. That's a game that Coach Bond is definitely going to have his guys up for sure.
Another clean win for Vitale. He's really come along in the second half, and if I were to tell you that there's a team that has had runs of 4 goals and 3 goals in the second half based off of the work from Vitale. You would think it's the Seahawks, but instead, Wantagh playing through that disadvantage to take the sizable lead.
Yeah, 100%. But again, you see now Cold Spring Harbor looking to find a little spark. So now they're inverting Wantagh's defense, looking to change maybe some of the slide packages or matchups that Wantagh has had success in thus far. And now you have Bauer with the step down.
Interference. An illegal screen is set. And so Bauer's step down does not count.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate for Bauer. He had his chance to get his hands free. I thought that was great execution by Cold Spring Harbor, minus maybe the moving screen. But now, they get a chance to ride the ball back, but that's one that they definitely are going to want back, and they'll look at on film and look to clean that up.
First time all season that Cold Spring Harbor has allowed double-digit goals. Wantagh's got 13 on the board with about 5 to go. It was tied at 5 at halftime, 10-7 Warriors entering the fourth, and they are pulling away with the only 3 goals of the last period.
When you look at a lot of the ways they're getting these goals, right, we keep talking about it. Cold Spring Harbor's done a tremendous job at the face-off X, a tremendous job on the wings, but Wantagh's ride, Wantagh's ability to finish the ball, finish possessions, and then for them to have an opportunity to, jump in and out of that zone that Cold Spring Harbor is also doing, I think is putting both teams in position to either score or turn the ball over, and we've seen, a decent amount of both throughout this game.
Certainly the defense of Cold Spring Harbor was the more heralded defensive unit coming in. But when you look at these 7 goals scored by the Seahawks, we talked earlier about unsettled, the man-up goal, the one late in the third quarter when they perhaps weren't positioned correctly. 6-on-6, the Warriors defensively have done a really nice job tonight.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to play defense or sit in there as a goalie when your offense is going to score goals, right? So I had said it earlier, it's not soccer. For Pissarro sitting back there, knowing that his offense is doing a good job finishing, a great job riding, if one gets by him, it's not life or death. So, he has an opportunity to kind of just take a deep breath and settle in and play a little bit more poised.
Wantagh got to their average of 13 a game against this heralded defense as it's sent behind for Pissarro. In front and put away, Martini. That could be the nightcap for the Warriors.
Yeah, that's something these guys are down on the block practicing. You have Passione coming down from Maricoke, giving the ball to Luke Martini, repping Cayuga. That's an easy finish. That's something they're doing in the backyard on a daily basis.
Luke Martini makes it 14-7. Wantagh doubling up Cold Spring Harbor here at home on the Varsity Media Sports Network.
Latest news in high school sports, be sure to check out varsitymedia.net or follow us on social media at Varsity Media.
Parents, your support means everything to your athletes and to us at Varsity Media. To help us continue bringing you the best YouTube coverage of high school sports on Long Island, we invite business owners to consider a sponsorship on our broadcasts. If you own a business, consider a sponsorship for your athlete's team. It's a great way to show support, gain visibility, and keep the coverage going strong. Join us in making a difference. Contact Varsity Media today to learn more about broadcast sponsorship opportunities by emailing ben@varsitymedia.net.
$14-7. What an impressive second half, in particular, performance by the Warriors. Building upon their 2-game win streak entering tonight.
Yeah, this is a big game for them. We talked about it. Halftime score is the most pointless score in all of sports. And, both teams came out ready for a fight. Vitale's come out and really done a great job at the face-off X. Unfortunately, Wantagh's offense has just been a little bit more potent in terms of how they've ridden and how they finished the ball thus far.
It appears that the afternoon or evening for Gianni Pissarro is over as Brendan O'Callahan, the junior, has stepped in between the pipes.
Yeah, well, this is something, too. You give a lot of respect to both of these coaches, kind of understanding the flow of the game. There's some guys you'll play against, they want to just keep running their ones throughout the entirety of the game to try to gain something. But at the end of the day, getting guys a chance to play out these last 4 minutes, rest some of your starters, understanding that, hey, this one didn't bounce our way. We're going to have another, we just showed the lineup of games that both these teams have. There's a lot more lacrosse to play throughout the course of this season.
Cross goal line extended for Daniel Toohey as we approach 3 to go. Colby Koningsberger gets a run here at midfield. Left alley dodge, and his shot goes wide.
Well, you know what I love, too? We have the opportunity. It's a nice day out to have the windows up, and you hear kind of that senior leadership from both sides cheering on their guys, kind of talking them through the offense and the defense. That's just a testament to both of these head coaches and the programs that they have. Whether you're losing the game, you're still cheering your guys on. You're still making sure these young guys know what they're doing. And then, for Coach Polo and his staff as well, making sure that these kids who practice every single day, maybe called up from JV because of a couple of injuries, have an opportunity to be coached the same way as the guys, who built them this lead.
James Polo of Wantagh asked the question before the game, what level are we at? Dennis Bond of Cold Spring Harbor said, where are we going? How are we going? So, Professor Neal, Coach Neal, what do we think? What's the takeaways? What do you think these coaches glean from their respective teams' performances today?
Yeah, I think on both sides. If I'm Wantagh, I'm really looking at, the face-off X, kind of our play in between the lines. I'd be curious what the ground ball stats are throughout the game, even though the scoreboard tells maybe a different story. So for them, it's really making sure that their depth is able to help carry them in a game that's a little bit tighter. And then if you're Cold Spring Harbor, you still have to rest on your laurels. This is a team that does feature a very good defense. You just happen to be playing against a very good offense. But understanding that they early on were winning that chess matchup in terms of jumping in and out of zone and man, and they found a lot of success in it. So you take some of those little things and you just want to build on them fundamentally, because when you get into the league game, I'll tell you right now, from a coaching standpoint and a player standpoint, the flow of the game is different. You're playing a little bit more tighter because the games matter a little bit more, knowing that you have to play a team twice throughout the course of a month, sometimes maybe even 3 times.
Kamer made a nice point-blank save. Cold Spring Harbor gets a touch, and you can start the 60-second shot clock. Cold Spring Harbor on the verge of losing their first league game of the season, entered 3-0 as part of their 6-2 overall record.
Well, when you talk about the Power Conference, it's a sheet of paper in terms of who wins that, right? So for Coach Bond, he's really looking at that Class D schedule. I know for Coach Polo, they're looking at that Class C schedule. Who do they need to take care of? Can they get up for those games, right? Both teams are going to just institutionally be up for a game against one another, given the history of each of these programs.
Nicely done by Gavin Woodworth to put one on the board for Cold Spring Harbor.
Yeah, and again, getting these guys a chance to get on and play, for Gavin, that's an opportunity for him to maybe build on his confidence, maybe enhance the identity of the Cold Spring Harbor offense, and then add to that depth.
Prior to that goal, it was 7 out of 8 for Wantagh. A 9-3 overall advantage in the second half. It's a long time ago that we were tied up at 5.
It seems like it, but I'll tell you right now, we've definitely been entertained. So have the fans. This has been a great up and down game. The score tells one story, but when you sit and you watch the game and some of the plays that were made, on both sides of the ball, you really get to see some very just great lacrosse, and that's exactly why I'm glad that these games are streamed.
Wantagh might have stepped in the crease there with 48 seconds to go. Wantagh last year won 12-7. Type of score that might not have been indicative of the way that the Warriors controlled the game, and I think we're on the verge of a similar result where it's 14-8, but the Warriors really took control after halftime.
Yeah, this is a team that is going to play very confident. For them, there's no pressure. It's one of those things where the ball's going to roll as it rolls. They like to play fast. They like to play upbeat. If they happen to lose a game and they're playing their way, they're going to learn from it. They're going to live with it. For Cold Spring Harbor, they're going to go back and figure out what might not have worked X's and O-wise, but skill-wise, they're going to stick to the, like I said earlier, rest on their laurels in terms of how they prepare for games. It's not like they didn't have a lot of great shots. It's not like their goalie didn't play well. They controlled the ball at the face-off X, and sometimes it just bounces a different way.
Loose ball picked up by Cold Spring Harbor. About to drop to 6-3 on the season. Wantagh will improve to 6-3 as a shot from the outside from Koningsberger is off the pipe with 2.6 seconds left. A season of runs for Wantagh. 3 wins, 3 losses, and 2.6 seconds away from 3 in a row. And that will do it. 14-8 the final. A big second half for Wantagh to take down Cold Spring Harbor here at home.
It's a great game by both. Hats off to both coaches, understanding that each of their schedules is going to work well into May. So it's an opportunity for both teams to learn, both teams to grow. But again, for us, it's a great day of lacrosse.
A little bit something extra in this matchup, knowing that both teams were defending county champs and certainly will be in the mix. Wantagh Class C, Cold Spring Harbor Class D. You expect them, of course, to make another run to the county title. 14-8 once again is our final. Wantagh taking down Cold Spring Harbor. The executive producer of Varsity Media is Ben Turchin. Our technical director tonight was Kevin Catalanato. Pleased to be joined by Isaac Neal. I'm David Resnick on the call, and our camera operators, Chris Dorr and Brian Kazaks. This has been a Varsity Media production. Thanks so much for joining us. Once again, the final score, 14-8. Wantagh takes down Cold Spring Harbor in Nassau County. Boys